Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So everyone, today we are from the group 4 in the subject matter ELT and assessment. Today we are about to deliver about our presentations under the topic assessing reading by Brown and also testing reading by Hajes. This four group including me as Nanda Faradila and my classmate
Utari.
we are about to present our material. So the first presentation will be presented by me. Okay. Okay, well, everyone, now we come to the strategies for reading comprehension. There are 10 strategies for reading comprehension as proposed by Brown. First, it is identify the purpose in reading. In doing the reading activity, whereas the teacher have to encourage our students to have in their mind about the purpose of what they are reading for. It will make the student to more focus on the purpose, and they will avoid the distraction that may the distraction that probably happen or occur in their activity of reading. And then the second, use graphemic rules and pattern to aid in bottom-up decoding, especially for beginning level of learners. Here the teacher should provide hints and pointers on such patterns as short vowel sound in VZ patterns, for example, bat, him, like, wish, and etc. And then the third, use efficient silent reading techniques for relatively rapid comprehension. This is for intermediate to advanced levels. Here, the teacher should don't it is no need to pronounce each word to for the students. So we give this information to the students, but they don't need to pronounce each word to themselves. And then the student have tried to visually perceive more than one word at a times. So they not look at one by one word, but they have to look at the phrase when they are reading, and then try to infer its meaning from its context. And then the fourth, skim the text for main ideas. Here we know that in reading strategies, there are two valuable strategies in which they are skimming and also scanning. Now we discuss about the skimming. In skimming, it is consists the activity of quickly running one eyes across a whole text. So we ask the student for read text for about 30 seconds, and then we ask them to close the books and ask them to tell what they learned from reading quickly of the whole text. Okay, we check our student understanding from its glance of reading. And then the fifth, it is scan the text for specific information. Now we come to these strategies in which in scanning activity, it is only quickly searching for some particular piece or pieces of information in a text. For example, from a passage, we ask our students to find what happened in the year of 2021. Uh, so our students will directly go to the text by searching the year that we are instruct them. Not need to read the whole text, but only to the specific information that they are intended to find. And then the sixth, it is use semantic mapping or clustering. Okay, what we are usually do in our college life, our lecturer often told us to make semantic mapping after reading some chapters of the book. These strategies of reading give us the information and then give us the advantage about many informations, and then we make it to the simple by making it into mapping or clustering. So it will give us um, the whole information in one two page by looking at the mapping that we made. And then the seventh, guess when you aren't certain. Sometimes our students don't understand or about what they are reading. So the seventh strategies is by guessing. So the student can guess the meaning of a word, and then they also can guess the grammatical relationships, and then the discourse relationships, and they also can infer implied meaning, and then guess the cultural reference, and also guess the content messages. So in these strategies, it is included what we call it the text clues in a passage or a reading text, that there are some text clues that we can teach our students about these strategies to improve their reading skills. Next, the in ninth strategies, it is distinguish between literal and implied meanings. Um, and the last, eh, oh, I'm sorry. I mean the eighth, it is analyze the vocabulary. And analyze the vocabulary, we told our student look for prefix and then suffixes and then roots that are familiar, and then the grammatical context that may signal the informations, and then the semantic context or the topics for the clues, like what we have learned. It is about the text clues in the reading text. We teach the students about these strategies to improve their reading skills. For example, in a text, there's some words like bougainville. Bougainville is being planted in a pot. And then the question will be might be like this: what does bougainville mean? Okay, so our students can relate or can build the relationship between the vocabulary, the text clues on the passage, like bougainville, planted, and also pot. So it means that bougainville is a flower. Be the answer will be there on the multiple choices. Next, in the nine, distinguish between literal and also implied meanings. Here it is the applications of the top-down techniques in reading, because also sometimes the meaning of a passage we cannot um, get it literally, but we have to imply it pragmatically. So we also should teach our students about the implied meanings of a text. And then the last is capitalize on discourse markers to process relationships. In many texts of English, there are the discourse markers found in the text. We also really usual with it. For example, we read a text and there we find some transition signals like firstly, secondly, thirdly, fourthly, and so on. So it is the discourse markers in the text. We have to teach our students about this also. Okay, we move to the next subheading. It is about the types of we need Okay, now we come to the second subheadings. It is the types of classroom reading performances. So there are two based on the Brown's book. The first is oral and silent reading, and the second is intensive and extensive reading. In the classroom, sometimes the teacher also need to implement the oral reading activities in the classroom based on the Brown's book. The advantage of the oral activities in the classroom can give some the first is serve as an evaluative bottom-up processing skills, and then double as a pronunciation check from our students. And then the third is it is served to add some extra student participation if we want to highlight a certain short segment of a reading passage. So this activity can give some advantage in the reading activities in the classroom, but the intensity of how many times we told our student to do the oral reading should be taken into account, because too often give the student the oral reading activity for the intensive and extensive reading. In the classroom, we often do the intensive reading, but the teacher also have to encourage the students to have more activities for the extensive reading outside the classroom. In intensive reading, it's like in the activity that we give the passage to the students, and then we provide the some questions after the student reading the text. But in extensive reading, maybe the text or the passage to read, it's not in a short one, but more pages, maybe book, maybe novel, maybe short story, and it include the activity that the students in reading. It is the extensive reading. Then now we come to the principles for designing interactive reading techniques. There are 8. Make sure not to overlook the importance of specific instruction in reading skills. Um, Here, the students have, we should encourage students to have the ample time for extensive reading outside the classroom. Um, and then the second is use techniques that are intrinsically motivating. So in here, the teacher should choose the best material that relevant to the student's level ability, and then there's also the student interest, because when the student interest with the reading text, they will more motivated and in their reading, and of course the sums, and then make the, and then the third, balance authenticity and also the readability in choosing text. Here the Christine Newton in 1996 over 3 criteria for choosing the text for reading activities. The first is from the criteria of suitability, and then from the is for the criteria of readability. And the fourth principle is encourage the development of reading strategies. Reading strategies, 10 reading strategies that we have presented before. It includes both bottom-up and also top-down techniques. I believe that here, this our classmates sure will understand about these two reading techniques that really popular, in which bottom up, it is the new information that we get, and then we try to techniques, we use our background knowledge, what we have already known, and then we make the relations to make sense of the text, by using the context, by using the schemata that we have had on our mind. And then the sixth, it is follow the SQ3R sequence. So in SQ3R sequence, is survey, and then questions, and then read. Next, seven is the principles. It is subdivide the techniques into pre-reading, during reading, and after reading phases. So it is not enough for us as the teacher only give our students the passage or text and then let them read by themselves, but we have also consider um, into three reading passages, pre-reading, during reading, and after reading passages. In pre-reading, we give the information about the purpose, the specific purpose of why we told our students to read the text, about maybe the language items or the grammatical structure that we will get from the text. And in during reading, we monitor our students in doing the reading. And then in the not only gives provide them some comprehension questions, but we can also do the activities like, for example, writing after reading the text. We ask the student to write what they have got from the text, but by using their own languages, by using their own words. And then discuss it together the structure they have learned from the text, and then what's the difference between the teacher and also all students discuss about their experience in reading the text we have given. And then the last, we build some evaluative aspect to the techniques. Okay, I think we come to the next topic, and it will be presented by Utari Dwi Sartika. So, Utari, time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Nanda. I will continue the presentation. So the topic about testing reading, it is based on Hajj's book in 2003. The next. Okay, before we talk about the testing reading, so it is better to distinguish between a test and an assessment or testing and assessment is for assessing the achievement of the objectives in education system, which is a set of questions for which there is a set of the correct answers. Well, the characteristics of a test itself, it is knowledge, an ability, an attitude, or an intelligence, or etc. Meanwhile, testing refers to the way of the questions and or the statement to find out the feedback or the response and answer that is to be assessed and evaluated. In a task, especially in second language, is not intended to make a judgment whether someone has had mastery or not, whether someone has comprehended or not, or whether someone can pass the test or not. And then a test is just to assess, measure, and evaluate. It is not a judgment at all. Testing is closely related to assessing, and they should work together. So the assessment is the ongoing process of gathering, analyzing, and reflecting on evidence to make informed and a consistent estimation or a decision to improve the students' future learning. Based on the explanation. So we can conclude that the testing is a tool or procedure in the form of a number of the questions to measure the ability or the progress of the students in the learning process as a basis for making decisions for the next learning process. Meanwhile, the assessment, it refers to the process of assessing students' learning outcomes by collecting evidence of measurement of results and representing them qualitatively. So we can say that the testing is a product. Meanwhile, the assessment is the procedure. Okay, next. Okay, we continue to the testing reading. So uh, the testing reading, it is not an easy task to do. Haggis in 2003 stated that the basic problem is that the receptive skills exercise, including reading and listening, does not necessarily manifest itself directly in the overt behavior. It because when people write and speak, we can see and hear, but when people read and listen, we often have nothing to observe. And there are some considerations to be involved when doing the task of reading, and those should be put into account, such as what to test and assess, the types of tests, how to test, and when to test. That will be discussed in this session. And then the first thing that we should do based on the Hijaz in 2003, it is about the preparation or operation. So the preparation for efficient reading test will be the tester's ability in how to test whether it will be skimming, search reading, and or scanning, as explained before by Nanda. Okay, next. Okay, the next is concerning text that to be considered in the testing reading. So in Hajj's 2003, recommended that the text that candidates or are expected to be able to deal with can be specified along a number of parameters as follows. The first is the text types. It's such as the textbooks, handouts, articles in the newspapers, magazines, or in the journals. And then it could be the poems or first dictionary entries, leaflets, letters, forms, diary, maps or plans, advertisements, postcard, novels and short stories, and so on. And then by the text forms that include the description, the exposition, the argumentation, the instruction, and then for the graphic features. And then the fourth is about the topics. It could be list or defined in a general way, such as in the non-technical or non-specialist or in relation to a specific topic. And then the length is usually expressed in number of words. They should be vary according to the level of the students or the candidates. And then the range of vocabulary. It may be indicated by a complete list of words, and it depends on indications of the frequency in the learner's dictionary. And then the range of grammar, it could be a list of structures or maybe a reference to those to be found in a course book, or maybe parts of grammar of a language. Okay, next, Nanda. Okay, and then the level of the performance, as we know that there are two types of the testing. Namely, the first is norm reference test. This test measure the students' performance in comparison to the other students. Also, they consider the age and the question paper is same for both of them, for both of the students. And then they measure whether the students have performed better or worse than the other students. And then it is the theoretical average determined by comparing scores. Meanwhile, in a criteria reference test, it is a method which use test score to judge students, and also they help to generate statements about the students' behavior. Also, they use test scores as their reference. And then the main objective of this test is to check whether the students have learned about the topic or not. So in the criterion reference test, it is an assessment and the test that measure the students' performance, and also measures the performance of the students alongside in a certain criteria. And then, but in Hajjus in 2003, he stated that the best way to proceed is to use the task themselves to determine the level. The level, okay, and then next. Okay, next, the next consideration, it is about the setting the task. So the first that we should to do is the selecting the text. Some considerations in selecting the text are, so the first is keeping specifications constantly in mind and try to select as a representative sample as possible. So do not repeatedly select text of a particular kind simply because they are readily available. So the repetition are not avoided in selecting the text. And then the second is choosing text of appropriate length. Uh, and the efficient reading test may call for passages of up to 2000 words or more. And then the third is including as many passages are possible in a test in order to obtain both content validity and also the acceptance reliability. And then looking for passages which contain plenty of discrete pieces of information in order to test search reading. The next is the finding text which have the specified elements that have to be scanned for. And then this is for scanning text. Next. The sixth is about the making sure that the text has a clearly recognizable structure to test to quickly establish the structure, and then choosing text that will interest for the students or for the candidates, but which will not overexcite or disturb them, and then avoiding text made up of information that may be part of the student's general knowledge, and then assuming that it is only reading ability that is being tested. So do not choose texts that are too culturally laden. And then the last is do not use texts that students have already read. Next. Okay, the writing items is the next consideration in setting the task. So the purpose in the writing items itself is to measure the ability in which the tasker is interested, and it is to elicit the candidate's reliable behavior so that the scoring is highly reliable. And then the last consideration is the concerning the techniques. Hedges in 2003 recommended that the techniques used should interfere as little as possible with the reading itself, and then they should not add a significantly difficult task on top of reading. So the common techniques can be multiple choice, short answer, gap filling, information transfer, and then matching the two parts of the split sentences, and then the completion of the sentence, summaries, diagrams, tables, flowcharts, notes, and matching paragraph headings. Okay, that's all about my presentation. Thanks for your attention. Bye.